Hey guys, Mario J. McNulty here. I'm here with Wolf today. We're going to be talking about the new David Bowie track, Glass Spider 2018, and it is on the new Never Let Me Down 2018 album. And today we're going to be talking about Wolf's programming that he did on this track. I needed something very specific and only he could really do it. And we'll be talking about some mixing technique and getting some sounds as well. So here we go. Hey guys, so right now we're going to talk about kind of the third movement of Glass Spider, in which Wolf used Addictive drums, and Wolf actually introduced me to Addictive drums a while back, and I'm a big fan of it now, and because of him, and got these very specific sounds that we were going for. And at the third movement, it's a lot of it is kind of moving into more industrial territory, bringing in more of an acoustic sounding drum kit, but still matching up with the electronic sounds. Stuff that I had talked about with David, like more industrial influences, sort of like Nine Inch Nails and that sort of thing, kind of played a big part in this third section of the song. So, Wolf, go ahead.
So, as Mario said, for the big acoustic drums at the end, I use XLN Audio Addictive drums, which is my go-to when I'm programming acoustic kits. And for this, we used, I wanted a Bonham-esque kit. So there's a great 60s Ludwig kit with Bonham sizes, right down to the 6.5 Ludwig Superphonic snare. I use all their ADPaks, but the big Bonham kit is from their Blue Oyster ADPak. And after we did this in Pro Tools, and once we committed the MIDI to audio, we added some sound processing. We used a DS10. XLN makes a DS10 drum shaper, which is my go-to transient tool. It's very user-friendly, and it just sounds great. It does what it does better than anything else, in my opinion. And then to give it a little dirt, I added a SoundToys Decapitator. Also great plugin. I use it on everything, not just drums. And then Mario also added it's a Waves EQ.
Waves V4 EQ.
Yeah. And basically the EQ shaped the tone, the Decapitator gave it a little dirt and shaped the tone further, and the DS10 drum shaper, really, you'll hear when I play you dry and process, it really opened the kit up and made the kit breathe. So here's the kit with the processing on it. And now I'm going to play it for you with the plugins deactivated. Still a great sounding kit, but you can hear just how much the Decapitator, the DS10, and the Waves EQ added.
So now we're going to talk about the second movement of the track, and it kind of comes from this. The first movement is kind of this ambient Eno-esque vibe, and it moves into, the track starts to open up and it moves into more of a electronic, darker vibe. And I needed certain drums to sound a certain way, and that was kind of influenced a little bit by like Massive Attack, Mezzanine, that era, so it's kind of leans in that direction. So I needed Wolf to do a certain type of sound in that section, and we're going to talk about that.
So, yeah, as Mario said, Mezzanine is one of my favorite records. He told me it was one of David's favorite records, and I know it's one of your favorite records. For this part, I'm doing what I call grid programming, where I just have a bunch of WAV files I import, throw them on the grid, put them where I want, quantize them how I need to. You can quantize audio in Pro Tools, make it swing if you want. Because I've used an MPC for years, so I just kind of use the Pro Tools grid as my own MPC now. And so a lot of the sounds are from my MPC library, which I converted to WAV files. And I'm using a lot of Native Instruments Maschine sounds. I bought Maschine when it first came out. I love the library, so I use the sounds all the time. So I'll play you what I have here, but there's a lot of Native Instrument sounds mixed with my own library. So I'll play you a little bit of the track and then solo the drums in this part, and you can hear what it sounds like. In addition to programming drums on this track, I also program the bass, and Trilian by Spectrasonics is my go-to for bass. And Mario wanted like a low 5-string finger sound, so I used Trilian TR5 finger, I believe is the preset, and I'll solo that, and Mario can tell you later what he processed it with, but here's the bass.
So the processing for this bass, obviously Wolf was saying he used it's the patch is TR5 string finger, which is a great patch. It sounds very natural, but it needed a little enhancement, especially within the confines of the mix. So you can see right now I have a few different plugins going on. I have a couple McDSP EQs. I have a McDSP compressor, the Ultimate compressor. I also have Crane Song Phoenix, which is a plugin that I use quite often, especially on low-end instruments. Also, I have Waves Console, the NLS channel, and I have a straight up, this is something I use a lot, it's a Waves SSL channel, the E channel. And some of these are on the track, the rest of them are in parallel. So right now that the Waves SSL is on the channel itself, and the McDSP stuff and the Crane Song, they're in parallel. And this gives it a lot of body, and it also adds a lot of sub-frequency that I really needed to help enhance the track. So I also wanted to talk about the software that I'm using on this song, and also the software that Wolf primarily uses, Avid Pro Tools HD. I'm also using Avid HD IO for my interface in and out. So I use Pro Tools for recording, editing, and mixing. It's definitely the best editor on the planet. It's also the best mix tool as far as I'm concerned. So I'm doing the entire song plus the entire album in Pro Tools. I also wanted to mention that right now we're listening to the rhythm section and bass that Wolf programmed. I'm also using an Eventide H3000, which is basically one of the best plugins ever made. Once Eventide came out with the H3000 plugin version, now I can't live without it because I used an H3000 hardware on a daily basis.